The ghost ship awakens. The patrol ship Crimson Talon drifted through the void sector like a metal predator hunting in the dark. Its sleek hull gleamed under the distant starlight, sensors sweeping the empty space for anything worth reporting back to the Galactic Empire. Commander Theklos, a tall reptilian with scales that shifted from green to amber when agitated, stood at the bridge viewport watching the scanner displays. "Nothing but debris and dead rocks out here," muttered his second-in-command, a four-armed insectoid named Vexra. "Why does High Command even bother patrolling this wasteland?" Theklos flicked his forked tongue, tasting the recycled air. "Orders are orders. The Empire doesn't want any surprises from the old war zones." He paused, studying a faint blip on the scanner. "Besides, you never know what ancient technology might be floating around out here." The blip grew stronger as they approached. What they found defied explanation. A massive vessel hung motionless in space, its hull blackened by centuries of cosmic radiation and micrometeor impacts. The ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of their patrol craft, with a design unlike anything in current Imperial databases. "By the 7 moons," Vexra whispered, her compound eyes reflecting the strange ship's outline. "What is that thing?" Theklos leaned closer to the scanner readout. The ship's architecture was crude by Imperial standards, all angles and harsh lines, but there was something unsettling about its presence. "Run a deep scan. I want to know everything about this vessel." The scanner results came back within minutes, and what they revealed sent a chill through the bridge crew. The ship's construction materials, energy signatures, and design patterns all pointed to one impossible conclusion. "Commander," the scanner operator, a pale humanoid with oversized eyes, spoke in a trembling voice. "According to our databases, this is a human vessel." Silence fell over the bridge like a heavy blanket. Everyone knew the stories, the legends, whispered in the outer colonies. Humanity had been one of the most feared species in the galaxy before their extinction 2 centuries ago. The Empire had been forced to unite dozens of alien races just to contain the human expansion. When humanity finally fell, it wasn't through honorable combat, but through a coordinated biological weapon that turned their own atmosphere against them. "That's impossible," Theklos hissed, his scales shifting to deep amber. "The humans are extinct. We made sure of that." But the evidence was undeniable. The ship bore markings in the angular script of dead Earth, and its energy readings, though faint, still pulsed with life. More disturbing still, the deep scans revealed something that made every crew member's blood run cold. A single life sign, weak but steady, somewhere deep within the vessel's core. "Sir, what are your orders?" Vexra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Theklos stared at the ancient ship for a long moment. His training told him to report the discovery immediately, but his curiosity and the promise of glory won out. If there truly was human technology aboard that vessel, the rewards for recovering it would be immense. "Prepare a boarding party," he commanded. "Full combat gear. We're going aboard." The docking bay of the human ship was vast and empty, filled with shadows that seemed to move in the flickering light of the boarding party's torches. The air was breathable but stale, carrying the metallic taste of recycled atmosphere that had been running for far too long. Every footstep echoed in the hollow space, creating an unsettling symphony of sound. Theklos led his team deeper into the ship, following corridors lined with strange symbols and warning signs in the human language. The architecture was brutal in its efficiency, with no wasted space or decorative elements. Everything served a purpose, and that purpose seemed to be war. They found the first clue to the ship's nature in what appeared to be an armory. Weapons unlike anything in current Imperial arsenals lined the walls. Their designs both primitive and terrifyingly effective. Kinetic projectile launchers, explosive devices, and close combat weapons that spoke of a species that had never forgotten how to kill efficiently. These humans were truly barbarians, Vexra muttered, examining a weapon that appeared to fire. Sharpened metal rods at hypersonic velocities. No wonder the Empire had to work so hard to contain them. But it was in the ship's central core that they found the true mystery. A massive chamber dominated by a single cryopod, its surface frosted, with centuries of ice but still humming with power. Through the transparent aluminum surface, they could see the outline of a figure, a human dot. The biometric readings were unmistakable. Female, approximately 30 years of standard age when frozen, vital signs stable despite the incredible passage of time. She wore the remnants of what appeared to be a military uniform, and even in sleep, her face held an expression of grim determination. Incredible, Theklos breathed, circling the cryopod like a predator studying its prey. A genuine human specimen, perfectly preserved. The scientific value alone. His words were cut off by a sudden change in the chamber's lighting. Warning lights began flashing red, and an automated voice filled the air, speaking in accented Galactic Standard. Unauthorized personnel detected. Initiating revival sequence. Preparing defensive protocols. What did you do? Theklos roared at his team, but none of them had touched anything. The ship's systems were activating on their own, responding to the presence of intruders with mechanical precision. The cryopod began to cycle, its surface temperature rising rapidly. Steam hissed from release valves as the preservation systems shut down and revival protocols took over. Inside the pod, the human's eyes snapped open, and for the first time in 200 years, Captain Elena Cross drew breath. She emerged from the pod like a force of nature, her movements fluid despite the centuries of sleep. Her hair was short, and practical, silver-streaked despite her apparent youth. Her eyes were the color of storm clouds, and when they fixed on the alien boarding party, there was no fear in them, only cold, calculating assessment. "Arya," she said, her voice hoarse from disuse, but carrying unmistakable authority. "Status report." The ship's AI responded immediately, its voice warm and distinctly feminine. "Captain Cross, welcome back. Current date is Galactic Standard 2387. You have been in cryosleep for 203 years, 4 months, and 17 days. We have uninvited guests." Elena's gaze swept over the alien intruders, taking in their weapons, their stance, their obvious shock at her. Awakening, she had fought creatures like these before, during the war that had consumed her galaxy. The reptilian was clearly military, probably a ship commander. The insectoid was nervous, fingered too close to her weapon's trigger. The pale one was a scanner operator, harmless but useful for information. "I don't suppose you're here to welcome me back to the neighborhood," she said, her tone conversational despite the tension in the room. Theklos recovered his composure first, raising his weapon. "You will surrender immediately. This vessel is now property of the Galactic Empire, and you are under arrest for existing." Elena's laugh was like ice cracking. "The Galactic Empire? Is that what you're calling yourselves now?" She stepped out of the cryopod, seemingly unconcerned by the weapons pointed at her. "Arya, please enlighten our guests about the current tactical situation." "Certainly, Captain. Boarding party consists of 12 individuals, armed with standard Imperial energy weapons. Their ship, the Crimson Talon, is currently docked to our port airlock. Crew complement: 47 armament, minimal, assessment. Not a threat, not a threat. Theklos snarled. We have you outnumbered and outgunned. Alina smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression any of them had ever seen. Arya, show them what outgunned really means. The ship around them came alive. Lights blazed to full illumination, revealing the true size and scope of the chamber they stood in. Weapon systems that had been hidden in the walls emerged with mechanical precision. Targeting lasers painted red dots on every member of the boarding party. Asterisk. But it was the view through the chamber's reinforced windows that truly drove home their situation. The Crimson Talon, their proud Imperial patrol ship, was being systematically dismantled by the human vessel's external defense systems. Mechanical arms stripped away armor plating, while mining beams sliced through critical systems with surgical precision. My ship, Theklos screamed, watching his command being reduced to scrap metal. Was trespassing in restricted space, Alina replied calmly. Arya, transmit the standard warning on all frequencies. The AI's voice echoed through the chamber and across space itself. This is the UES Defiance. Captain Alina cross-commanding. You have violated human territorial space and committed acts of piracy against a vessel of the United Earth Navy. Your ship has been disabled as a defensive measure. You have 1 hour to evacuate 2 life pods before your vessel is destroyed. Alina turned back to the stunned aliens. Now then, let's have a conversation. I've been asleep for 2 centuries. And I'm very curious about what's been happening in my galaxy. What she learned in the following hour changed everything. The Empire had grown beyond anything she remembered, encompassing thousands of worlds and dozens of species. Humanity was considered extinct, wiped out by a coordinated biological attack that had turned Earth's atmosphere toxic. The few human colonies that had survived the initial assault had been systematically hunted down and eliminated. We had no choice, Theklos insisted, though his voice lacked conviction. Humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable. The galaxy is peaceful now. Alina stared at him for a long moment. Peaceful, she repeated. Is that what you call the slave worlds in the Outer Rim? The resource extraction camps on the mining planets, the genetic experimentation on species that refused to submit. She leaned forward, her eyes burning with controlled fury. I may have been asleep, Commander, but this ship has been listening. Every transmission, every communication, every cry for help that you've ignored. She stood and walked to the command console, her fingers dancing over controls that responded to her touch as if they had been waiting for her return. Arya, prepare a general broadcast. Full spectrum, maximum range. Captain, that will reveal our position to every Imperial ship in 3 sectors. Good, Alina replied. I want them to know we're here. The message that went out across the galaxy was simple and direct. This is Captain Alina Cross of the United Earth Navy vessel Defiance. To any humans still alive out there, you are not alone. To the Galactic Empire, you made one mistake. You didn't make sure we were all dead. As the transmission ended, Alina turned back to her prisoners. Your life pods are ready. I suggest you use them. Theklos and his surviving crew scrambled for the airlocks, their pride forgotten in the face of overwhelming human technology. As they fled, Alina watched their escape pods streak away toward the nearest Imperial outpost. Captain, Arya said quietly, you realize this means war. Alina nodded, her expression grim but determined. It was always war, Arya. They just thought they'd already won. She moved to the pilot's chair, settling into it as if she had never left. Set course for the Titan Nebula. If there are any human survivors out there, that's where they'd be hiding. The Defiance turned away from the debris of the Imperial patrol ship and accelerated into hyperspace, leaving behind only the fading echo of Elena's transmission and the beginning of a legend that would reshape the galaxy. The Empire learns fear the Imperial war room on the fortress world of Drakmor. Prime had never seen such chaos. Admirals shouted over each other in a dozen different languages while holographic displays showed the impossible. A single human ship cutting through Imperial patrol fleets like a plasma blade through tissue paper. Admiral Zektar, Supreme Commander of the Third Imperial Fleet, slammed his massive fist onto the tactical table, silencing the room. His species, the Drakmari, were known for their size and ferocity, but even he felt a chill watching the combat recordings from the Void Sector. "Explain to me," he growled, his voice like grinding stone, "how one ship destroyed an entire patrol group without taking a single hit." The intelligence officer, a nervous Vexian with trembling tentacles, projected the battle data. "Sir, the human vessel appears to use kinetic weaponry almost exclusively. Solid projectiles fired at incredible velocities. Our energy shields are completely ineffective against them." "Impossible," snorted Admiral Vesk Sektar's chief rival. "Kinetic weapons are primitive. Any competent shield system should stop them." "That's what we thought, sir," the intelligence officer replied. "But these aren't normal projectiles. They appear to be made of ultra-dense materials, possibly collapsed matter. Each round carries the kinetic energy of a small asteroid." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For 2 centuries, the Empire had built its military doctrine around energy weapons and defensive shields. The idea that someone would return to kinetic weaponry was beyond their comprehension. "There's more, sir," the officer continued. "The ship itself appears to be almost entirely automated. Our scans suggest a crew of 1, possibly 2 individuals. Everything else is handled by advanced artificial intelligence." Zektar studied the tactical displays with growing unease. The human ship, the Defiance, had appeared at 7 different locations in the past week. Each time, it had destroyed Imperial vessels with ruthless efficiency before vanishing into hyperspace. No pursuit had been successful, and no trap had been effective. "What do we know about this Captain Cross?" he asked. "Very little, sir. Our historical records show her as a mid-level officer in the old Earth Navy. She commanded a heavy cruiser during the final phase of the human war. Her ship was reported destroyed during the Battle of Kepler Station. Clearly, it wasn't destroyed." Zektar muttered. "What was her tactical record?" The intelligence officer's tentacles twisted nervously. "Exceptional, sir. 73 confirmed kills against Imperial vessels. She specialized in hit-and-run tactics and unconventional warfare. Her crews called her the Ghost Captain." "How poetic," Admiral Dekfus sneered. "One human with an old ship will simply overwhelm her with numbers." Zektar wasn't so confident. He had fought humans before, during the final campaigns of the war. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and absolutely ruthless when cornered. This Captain Cross had been planning her return for 2 centuries. She wouldn't make it easy. "Deploy the 7th Fleet to the Titan Nebula," he ordered. "If she's looking for human survivors, that's where she'll go. I want her found and destroyed." But Alina Cross was already 3 steps ahead of them. The Defiance emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Titan Nebula, its sensors immediately beginning a systematic search of the region. The nebula was a vast cloud of ionized gas and stellar debris, perfect for hiding small settlements from Imperial scanners. "Arya, any signs of human activity?" Alina asked from her command chair. "Scanning, Captain. The nebula's interference is significant, but I'm detecting artificial power signatures on several asteroids. Weak, but consistent with human technology." Alina smiled grimly. She had hoped some of her people had survived, but seeing the evidence filled her with a mixture of joy and rage. Joy that humanity endured, rage at what they had been forced to endure. "Take us to the largest signature. And Arya, prepare the recognition codes. We don't want to scare them." The asteroid base was hidden deep within the nebula's heart, its rocky surface concealing a thriving underground community. When the Defiance transmitted the old Earth Navy codes, the response was immediate and emotional. "This is Haven Base," came a voice thick with tears. We thought we were the last ones." Elena's throat tightened. "This is Captain Elena Cross, UES Defiance. Permission to dock." The silence that followed lasted nearly a minute before the voice returned, steadier now. "Captain Cross. The Ghost Captain. But you're supposed to be dead." "Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated," Elena replied. "Now, can we come aboard? We have a lot to discuss." The docking bay of Haven Base was crude but functional, carved from the living rock of the asteroid. As Alina stepped off her ship, she was greeted by a crowd of humans, their faces showing a mixture of hope and disbelief. They were survivors, refugees, the children and grandchildren of those who had escaped the Empire's final solution. Their leader was an elderly man named Marcus Webb, whose grandfather had been Elena's chief engineer during the war. His eyes were bright with unshed tears as he embraced the legendary captain. "We never gave up hope," he whispered. "Even when the Empire hunted us to the edge of the galaxy, we never stopped believing that humanity would return." Alina looked around at the faces surrounding her, seeing the strength and determination that had kept her species alive against impossible odds. These people had lived in hiding for generations, but they had never surrendered their humanity. "How many?" she asked quietly. 17 colonies, maybe 50,000 people total," Marcus replied. "Scattered across the outer rim, living in places too dangerous or worthless for the Empire to bother with. We've been waiting for someone like you to unite us." "Then we'd better get started," Alina said. "Because the Empire knows I'm alive now, and they're coming." She was right. 3 days later, Admiral Zector's fleet emerged from hyperspace at the nebula's edge. 47 ships of the line, including the massive dreadnought Imperator's Will. It was enough firepower to sterilize a dozen worlds. "Begin." "Systematic scanning," Zector ordered. "I want every rock in this nebula examined. The human ship is here somewhere." But Alina had no intention of hiding. The Defiance appeared on their sensors like a ghost materializing from the void, its massive bulk dwarfing even the Imperial dreadnought. "Sir," the scanner operator reported, "the human vessel is approaching at attack speed. She's coming straight at us." "All ships, attack formation," Zector commanded. "Concentrate fire on that ship. I want it vaporized." The Imperial fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and quantum missiles filled space with deadly light. But the Defiance flew through the barrage like it was flying through empty space, its strange kinetic shields deflecting every shot. Then it returned fire. The first salvo from the Defiance struck 3 destroyers simultaneously. The kinetic projectiles punched through their hulls like they were made of paper, each impact sending shockwaves through the entire fleet. Within seconds, 3 proud Imperial warships were reduced to expanding clouds of debris. Impossible, Zektar roared. No ship can mount that many heavy guns. But the Defiance wasn't just a ship, which is a weapons platform designed by a species that had perfected the art of warfare. Its hull bristled with kinetic cannons, each one capable of firing projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed, and Alina Cross knew exactly how to use them. She danced the massive ship through the Imperial formation like a fighter pilot, using its superior speed and maneuverability to stay ahead of their targeting systems. Every pass left more Imperial ships crippled or destroyed, their energy weapons useless against her kinetic defenses. "Sir, we've lost 12 ships," the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "Recommend immediate withdrawal." "No," Zektar snarled. "Deploy the fighters. Swarm her with numbers. She can't possibly target them all." Hundreds of small craft poured from the Imperial carriers, their pilots eager to prove themselves against the legendary human vessel. But Alina had fought swarm tactics before, and the Defiance was ready for them. The ship's point defense systems came online, filling space with a deadly web of kinetic projectiles. Each shot was perfectly aimed, and each hit was lethal. Fighter craft exploded by the dozens, their pilots never even seeing what killed them. In 15 minutes, the engagement was over. Half of Admiral Zektar's fleet was destroyed or crippled, and the survivors were fleeing in panic. The Defiance hung motionless among the wreckage, its hull unmarked by the battle. "This is Captain Cross to all Imperial vessels," Alina broadcast. "Tell your Emperor that humanity has returned. Tell him that we remember what he did to our world, and we're coming for him. Tell him that the age of the Empire is ending." As the surviving Imperial ships jumped to hyperspace, Alina turned her attention to the hidden colonies. One by one, she visited them, bringing hope to people who had lived in despair for generations. The children of Earth began to emerge from their hiding places, and with them came knowledge, technology, and most importantly, allies. The Empire had made enemies across the galaxy during their centuries of rule. Species enslaved, worlds exploited, cultures destroyed. When word spread that humanity had returned to challenge Imperial power, rebellions began to spark on 100 worlds. Alina coordinated them all from the bridge of the Defiance, turning scattered resistance into organized revolution. The Ghost Captain had become something more. She was the symbol of hope for everyone who had suffered under Imperial rule. "Captain," Arya said one evening as they approached the core worlds, "long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements. The Empire is marshalling everything they have." Alina nodded, studying the tactical displays. The final battle was coming, and she knew it would determine the fate of the galaxy. But she was no longer fighting alone. Behind her came a growing fleet of human ships, alien rebels, and liberated worlds. "Set course for Imperial Center," she commanded. "It's time to finish what they started 200 years ago." The Defiance turned toward the heart of the Empire, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of countless beings who had dared to believe that tyranny could be defeated. Captain Alina Cross, the Ghost Captain, was coming home, and the galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.